All right, welcome back to another episode of Two Plain Sports. Before we get everything going, thank you guys for watching the last video. Clearly, the title got to some of you thinking that we were crazy enough to think Spencer was going to start instead of Caleb. Clearly, that wasn't the case, and if you watched it, you know that that's not what we were saying. But it was awesome to hear all you guys in the comment section and getting some people heated about it. Make sure that you are subscribing and liking the video. It helps us out a ton, and we really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and do our recap for the week. Obviously, this last game was not amazing. We had clearly probably the worst game of the season, at least because of our expectations were so high going against Kansas. Kansas started off the game 10-0 in the first half, and then Oklahoma essentially really only played the second half of the game. Brum, you want to go ahead and kick it off? Tell us what you thought.
Yeah, welcome back. I'm back here. I had a few things and just busy, and I finally have got time now. I'm going to be able to be on here every video or 99% of the videos. But in a way it didn't surprise me because I think the hardest thing about going 12-0 or 13-0 or whatever is getting up for every single game, no matter who they are, how good they are, how bad they are. That's the test. That's what determines the good teams and the great teams, or differentiates. And you see Alabama, they get up for every single game. I mean, 99 times out of 100. I feel like this is an OU. This is just something with a growing, some growing pains or something. It's the mindset, and I don't know why it's taking so long. And because this is not the first year this has popped up. I feel like this is every year that we go into at least one or two games a year like, oh, we should roll them. Like we should have rolled Kansas. I mean, 38.5-point spread. I mean, we should have rolled. I mean, I guess earlier this year should have rolled Tulane, should have rolled, think in previous years, you think of, Kansas State, you think of Iowa State. There's just games that I feel like the mindset is just like, we're too good, or we're good enough that Kansas is not going to want to show up and even play us. And I think that just starts from the top. And I think coming from the, looking back, I've heard that they canceled practice on Monday. And I think the root cause of that was because a lot of people were banged up. But I don't know if the message might have not been so clear of, maybe some thought, well, we're canceling practice Monday because we're playing Kansas. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in there. I just feel like they just showed up and they're like, well, Kansas is just going to roll over. And they obviously didn't. And then I think at halftime, Lincoln Riley and, Grinch and all them got after them, and they finally started playing. I just don't know what it's going to take. And I know there's a lot of injuries, but it also, I get it. It's tough to go 12-0. I mean, I'm sitting here complaining, but this is the first time that they're 8-0 since 2004. I mean, it's been what is that, 17 years? We haven't been in this position in a very long time. So, and as Brandon and I were watching the game, we were joking. We're like, it's not even championship November yet. So I don't know. I mean, they're gonna get it together. I think getting a few people back, either for Tech or after the bye, going to Baylor, they're going to get some people back. I think DTY and Woody Washington, you're seeing how important they are, especially DTY. I don't know, Brandon. What do you think? That's just the first take. I mean, there's a lot more I have to say, but let me hear what you have to say.
Watching the game with you, it was disgusting. It's probably the best way to describe it. I was losing my mind. That game should never have been that close, regardless of who was out for us, because it is Kansas. That's a team that was like, they're dead last in the country in almost every defensive stat. They're dead last in everything, essentially. They're awful. So it was painful. It was hard to watch. As you mentioned, it is good to be 8-0. Hard to complain about that, because at the end of the day, the Sooners are 8-0, 5-0 in conference play. Still everything every goal that the team has is still in front of them, despite that awful performance. But you realize we were 2 Caleb Williams Superman plays on 4th down and a Key Lawrence fumble away from losing to Kansas. And Caleb Williams had to do 2 heroic ass things to beat Kansas. It was bad.
Yeah, this game, like we said to kick it off, not what we expected, not what we wanted, but at the end of the day, we're 8-0. We got the W. This is for the first time. I think Brandon used to say this when we started the season. Obviously, we struggled against Tulane. We were in a lot of close games to start the season, and Brandon always said it's a win. We just got to be content with it and move forward. Obviously, the beginning of the season is a lot different than where we are now with Caleb Williams at the helm, and the offense looks a lot better. This week, it just seemed like Kansas executed the game plan against Oklahoma to perfection. Time of possession, win it, and you can make Oklahoma struggle because we do play very fast on the offensive side. If we can't convert on third down like we weren't able to in the first half, you're going to make Lincoln Riley's job and Grinch's job a lot harder. Mentioning Grinch, something that was talked about a lot on Twitter, and some people were going as far as saying he should get fired, is how bad the defense played yesterday. We gave up a lot of yardage. Kansas ended up beating us in total yards at the end of the game. Let me double check what the stats were. Yeah, so 412 to 398. I mean, they scraped. They played a full game while we played 2 quarters. Brum, you want to give your take on the defense yesterday?
Yeah, and I mean, there are quite a few injuries. Obviously, they're missing Jalen Redmond, DTY, Woody Washington. I mean, and a few others.
DJ Graham.
Yeah, DJ Graham. And what's interesting is I think that obviously Key Lawrence is still picking up the system. I mean, he's only been here for, I don't know, 6 months or whatever it's been. I don't know if Grinch really trusts what's in the secondary right now, because it's interesting because first and second down, a lot of times they were able to, or not even just this game, first and second down, they were able to, make it 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8. But it was every time on third down, I swear it was 8 yards. Well, then OU was like, okay, we're going to play 10 yards off. They'll do a little curl and they're going to get the first down. And I think that's Grinch trying to protect from getting burnt for the long ball. I don't know if he doesn't trust him and he's just kind of just holding it together and trying to make Kansas go the whole distance of the field rather than get burnt for a 70-yard touchdown or something. In the pass rush, I don't know what has happened. I know Redmond isn't there. I get it. But you're playing Kansas and you still have Benito, Isaiah Thomas, Grimes, and Perion Winfrey. You've got a bunch of guys that can rush the passer. I mean, Benito got the 1 sack and was in garbage time. I don't care. I mean, Kansas is full of unranked 2 and 3 stars and the occasional 4-star. No one that's on the field right now on that defensive line is anything worse than what they put, like 3-star and up. I mean, 3 and 4s, and Perion Winfrey was like the number 1 defensive tackle in the, JUCO ranks, and a few other kids that are solid players and are really athletic. I just don't know why they couldn't create more pressure. It seems weird.
That to me is the biggest area of concern. I agree 100% with. It's 2 games in a row now because against TCU, we didn't have any sacks, I don't think. Just our inability, it seems, for whatever reason, to get home and put pressure on the quarterbacks or make plays in the backfield and, set up a 2nd and 15, 2nd and 17 or something like that. Last year, when the running game wasn't all that great, Ramondre comes back. Obviously, it's a new offense. This year, I wonder if it's just the lack of no Ronnie Perkins, and like maybe his impact, he was that impactful just with his play and his leadership and all that sort of stuff, because it's the same defensive line as last year minus Ronnie Perkins, and we can't do a thing as far as putting pressure on the quarterback. So I mean, maybe just that loss of Perkins really hurts the team that bad.
Yeah, I think what happened yesterday is to start the game, there was just way too many mistakes. There was like 3 offsides called, it seemed like, in the first, Kansas first possession. Just too many bonehead mistakes happening at the defensive line, and then a couple linebackers are trying to blast through just to kind of predict a count there. So that probably kind of put them against the ropes. They'd also seemed like they were trying out a different defensive line group, because Reggie Grimes usually comes in to relieve IT. those two were in the game a lot together, where Reggie was on the edge, opposite of Nick, and then IT and Perion were in the middle. That might be because maybe, like Brum said, there's still a little bit of development that has to come with the guys that are backing the Perion and what would be Redmond in, or maybe the not having Redmond is a much bigger impact than we've seen through the last 7 games, and it would just exposed more so this game than in the past. But they ran the ball really well on the outside. They had a couple good runs through the middle, but the middle of the line did well in preventing anything catastrophic from happening. As soon as someone can get the edge on us, then it's hard to trust the linebackers that are out there for every single play. There's a lot of missed tackles.
It looked like our defensive line, linebacking core, whatever it was, it looks like they'd never seen a read option in their life yesterday.
Yep.
They hit that 4 or 5 times for 15 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, whatever it's, just like, what are we, like, how is that working every single time?
Yeah. And going, just real quick, Brum, going into, in our preview, we mentioned that the quarterback seemed to be their biggest weapon, and he showed it this last game. His stat line ended up being 17 for 23, 246 yards, a touchdown in the air, and then he ran the ball 14 times for 59 yards. Very efficient with his legs.
No. Yeah, and he should have scored that first touchdown too. I don't know what the guy was doing whenever he just walked out of bounds. But I was going to say, and I mentioned this to Brandon, I mean, what Kansas has done, or what they did, and even a few, over the last few years, the game plan, I really think stemmed from the 2018 Army game, OU Army. Army gave the blueprint of, now the defense was a lot worse, don't get me wrong, but it was just hold on to that ball, be efficient every snap, drain the play, wind the play clock all the way down, and just limit the possessions. And I feel like Kansas has done it. Nebraska was doing it. I mean, a few other, just making sure, and Kansas State did it too, just holding on to the ball as long as you can, limit the possessions, and be efficient, and go the length of the field, because OU has shown that we might be able to stop on, if you're really, really aggressive, but if you're content with going 3 or 4 yards every single play for the most part, then for whatever reason, OU just can't stop anyone. And that's what I would recommend to anyone that wants to play Oklahoma. And I think that's what Oklahoma State will do too. And I, as much as I don't enjoy saying this, but we were watching the OSU Iowa State game, and I think OSU stopped Iowa State at the goal line or something. I was like, I don't think OU would do that. I just don't know what the deal is. I don't know what the depth is. Ethan Downs played a lot yesterday as well. Stutzman played a lot. I just don't know if the depth or the trust or what the deal is. But if they play that way next weekend, Texas Tech is good enough to beat Oklahoma, like that team. I don't know. It's concerning, but we're 8-0, and maybe it's just they were sleepwalking, which I feel like they've been sleepwalking for about half these games, and they're just good enough to get by.
Yeah, and on the stuff about Grinch, I think people are really quickly forgetting and overreacting to what happened yesterday. This defense is a lot different than when we played Puka Williams and Kansas, and it was just who's going to score the most. Like, even though yesterday wasn't great, we forced them to, like you said, they had to get, be content with getting 3 or 4 yards on every run. Obviously they got some big ones on us, but it was still relatively low scoring. At the end of the day, we still won, like you said, and Grinch is good. There's just, I think, all the injuries that they're trying to work through is really starting to catch up, and really showing that those guys that are missing are much more talented than what's on the field right now. But
yeah,
go ahead.
And I was just going to say, yeah, they, at the end of the day, OU only allowed 23 points. Even if they would have allowed 23 points in a game that OU's offense showed up for 4 quarters, OU probably still would have won 63-23 or 56-23, and we wouldn't even really be thinking twice about the way the defense played. it's not like they're giving up 35, 40 points to Kansas. I mean, they gave up 23, and it's just more of the fact that the offense was anemic for the first half, and it really the offense, the defense really became magnified at that point. And we can't forget, as much as it's been frustrating, the defense has won us multiple games this year. So, and I know in the NFL and in college football, it's a what have you done for me lately type league as far as what they expect, and people really like you and think you're good. It's all of a sudden flipping the switch, and now people are upset and firing Grinch and all. Just calm down. It's going to be all right. As Aaron Rodgers once said, relax. I mean, it's a lot of things. So
yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think that pretty much covers the defense. They did their job at the end of the day. They kept Kansas from scoring less than Oklahoma. Now, something you mentioned just a second ago is the offense pretty much non-existent in the first two quarters. We couldn't really get anything going. They had, I think, on Oklahoma, if I remember correctly, on Oklahoma's first drive in the second half, they had more time and more yards in one drive than they had collectively in the first half. So, I mean, that kind of just shows how the game plan that Kansas executed was perfect in the first half, and the guys literally just didn't seem to care about playing in those first two quarters. They assumed their talent was good enough to get them by, and they had a big wake-up call at halftime. I'm sure there was a couple of adjustments, but probably a lot of yelling by the coaches in position groups and just telling them, like, they're not just going to roll over and give you this game. Go out there and score and make some plays. And at the end of the day, that's what happened, especially on the Caleb Williams miracle play, which I thought was good at, real time. I didn't think it was going to be reversed in any way, but the commentators kept talking about how it might not be a legal pass, but he never crossed the line of scrimmage. So I thought it would just, Kennedy Brooks might get some passing yards in some way. I didn't know exactly how the stats were going to show it, but Caleb Williams is an amazing player and made plays when he had to. And my favorite thing, and not obviously that play was amazing, but I think my favorite thing that kind of flipped the switch for everyone, it seemed like, was Caleb was all over that sideline, yelling at, trying to hype up his offense and trying to hype up the defense as well. Like, he would get in front of them, cheer him on, yell at him, get him hyped up before they got on the field to take, to try to stop Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, he made those 2 fourth down plays he made were ridiculous. The 4th and 3 where he housed the long 40-yard touchdown, just like the Texas game. It seems like Kansas was all over it, played it perfect. There's 3 guys in the backfield. Somehow he just makes all of them miss and then goes and houses it. And then the Kennedy Brooks thing, that was such a heads up play that that if he doesn't make that play, Kansas gets the ball at our 40 down 4 or something. You know what I mean? It's that was just, it's ridiculous that he, just in that moment thought to do that and keep the drive alive and essentially win the game right there.
Yeah. And some of the blame, I'm not putting all the blame on Riley or Grinch or whatever. I think part of why OU came out flat, I think does fall on Caleb Williams' shoulder. And I don't think it's his fault. I mean, this is his second start. And I think this is a little bit of the experience that Spencer Rattler has that, that he got over the last year, that, Caleb might have thought, like we were thinking, we're going to roll Kansas. We're really good. And he was really he came out and he was just looking for the long ball. He was like, we're good enough. I'm just going to throw it downfield 40 yards every single time. And because he could do that in high school, I mean, he's just so much better than everyone in high school. And now even at Kansas, they've got some athletes. And I think with his leadership, not saying it's bad or anything, I think he just kind of thought we're good enough. I don't really need to hype him up, until he started getting a sense of urgency. And I know what you're talking about after OU, I think, what was it? They scored and then he came on the sidelines and getting the defense and the offense going. And I think at that point, it finally clicked. It's like, oh, well, maybe we actually need to kind of get it going. And so I don't think this will happen again. I think Caleb this is a good learning experience, and it luckily didn't cost a game to learn this. I do think that that does fall a little bit on his shoulders, but I don't think that's going to happen again. I think he's smart enough and he's good enough to know that they can't just sleepwalk in any game, and it's valuable.
On his interception throw, we were sitting there watching the game. He had Kennedy Brooks wide open for at least 15, 20 yards if he just hits the dump off. And he forces a deep Hazelwood, I think, or I don't know.
It was Hazelwood.
Really just underthrown, not a good ball, easy interception for the DB. And then he actually had Trayvon West on one of the deep throws and just put too much on it. I think if he hits that one, it's a touchdown. And he just missed it. But, obviously when it mattered, he was dynamite again, just figured it out.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys heard it on the commentators. They were just talking about how Oklahoma seems to want to put themselves in a hole to try to climb out of it. And that to start the game, they also called it kind of the kind of prime example for what a trap game is. We just came off of 2 big wins. We had the quarterback change, and this was supposed to be the easy game to, kind of put us in a place where we can just relax for a little bit, let everyone rest. Everyone expected to see Spencer Rattler in the second half, and obviously that didn't happen. But we won, and I think Brum is right. This is probably not going to happen again. Just a matter of inexperience from Caleb, not understanding the position he's in. But he probably knows now that he can't take any team lightly, and he's got to bring his A game for 4 quarters to make sure that at the end of the year, we've got to be in a position to win and be in the playoffs. And to pivot real quick, we are now number 4 in the AP poll, behind Georgia, Cincinnati, and a 1-loss Alabama. Do you guys have any thoughts on, do you think we should be number 4? Should we be worse? Should we have stuck at 3?
I try not to put too much stock into it, because at the end of the day, Brandon and I were talking about it yesterday. If we went out and go 13-0, it doesn't matter if we're 1, 2, 3, or 4. We're going to go to the playoffs.
Exactly.
You think about the Big Ten. The Big Ten's going to cannibalize itself. They're going, Michigan State plays, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, and I think Ohio State still have to play, and then Ohio State, Penn State. They all play each other. Someone's going to come. I don't think anyone's coming out of that conference with undefeated. I don't think Michigan or Michigan State's going to win out. I think Oregon's probably going to drop another game. Cincinnati, hey, they only beat Navy. That's a 1-win Navy by 7. Was it 7 points, I believe? So, and I'm telling you, SMU is not going to lay down, and then they'll have to probably play Houston in the conference championship. They could lose once as well. So I don't really care. I don't think Alabama is that dominant either. They're good. Don't get me wrong. I think at the end of the year, OU will be 2 or 3, and win out, go 13-0, and you'll have every right to be in a playoff spot. So
I agree. I don't really care where they have us in the AP poll, because, like Brum said, if we win out, it doesn't matter. We will be in, so it doesn't matter.
Well, the only reason that I think it matters, well, obviously not yet, because it's not the committee, it's not the official poll, but they seem to take the AP to, they take it into account, at least for the first couple of rankings. Right now, we're undefeated. Like that should mean something, just like it should mean something for Cincinnati and Georgia. And at the end of the year, Georgia and Alabama are going to face in the SEC championship. Let's say Alabama pulls off the win. Let's say just they win by 3. They scraped away with the win. Now what? Are you going to put Alabama over a 1-loss Alabama, an SEC champion, over an Oklahoma team that's undefeated Big 12 champions at number 1?
It won't matter. It won't matter if that scenario, Cincinnati's not going to be in.
Cincinnati would then at that point be number 4. Because Georgia has to be in. They've had the best season, I think.
I know that. Georgia and Alabama would be in, and the Big Ten champion, which I think will be Ohio State. It'll be Oklahoma over Cincinnati. At the end of the day, Cincinnati, they have a similar schedule. I know Notre Dame and whatnot, but Notre Dame I don't think is that great. And money and brand's going to come down to it. But I think Cincinnati's going to drop a game. So, but I don't know. I think it's going to be all right, especially if we turn the page, dominate Tech, dominate Baylor, dominate Oklahoma State, and then dominate whoever, and Iowa State as well, and then dominate whoever in the Big 12. That's a good stretch. Good teams in there, Baylor and Oklahoma State and Iowa State. They're all ranked teams. That's when you're going to really know how good this team is. You get 4 straight ranked wins, the 3 to end the season and a Big 12 championship. There's no way. Yeah. There's just no way.
I know. The scenario just in my mind is if we're 2 to 4 in the playoff rankings, it doesn't matter. But if we can have a chance for number 1 and be in close proximity so that more home fans are at the game, that can be a big change for the environment, for the momentum, and obviously being number 1 is much more comfortable than feeling like you're not going to make it in at the number 4 spot. If it's Cincinnati or Ohio State, whoever it is, it's going to be like much rather be stress-free at the end of the year. But do you guys have any more thoughts on the game before we wrap it up?
Just happy to be 8-0, and I think everyone just take a deep breath and you get a few players back, and championship November is right around the corner, so we'll see.
Yep.
Well, thank you all for watching. If you've made it this far, you're awesome. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the game. I think all of us agreed, not a pretty game, but we won. So let us know what you think. Is Grinch the answer? Should he be fired? What's the move here? And give us your keys to the game. Like who did the best in your eyes? Thanks for watching, and we will see you for our preview against Texas Tech.